getting our first speaker right about now. First speaker, Agbons Igiewe. Hi, Mrs. Agbons.
Yeah, same here. It's a pleasure to electronically meet you all.
Speaker's profile, Agbons Igiewe, is a marketing communication professional and trainer with subspecialty in digital marketing and brand strategy. Agbons Igiewe has facilitated several digital marketing and brand strategy classes for various companies and organizations globally, like State Bank, China's Alliance Locan, Nigerian League Summit, Junior Achievement Nigerian, O2 Academy, Caesar Academy, and several others. Agbons holds an MBA in marketing as well as digital marketing certifications. I am sure that if we were all gathered together, we would have loved to give you a standing ovation with a resounding and very, very wonderful round of applause. But right now, we can't because of social distancing. But from our end, I'm giving you a resounding round of applause and a standing ovation. Welcome, Agbons Igiewe. Can we have you now?
Yes, thank you, everyone. Thank you. Of course, a sitting applause will do. Yes. So if you give me permission, I'll share my screen. It's a pleasure to actually be here today and a pleasure to be speaking on a very important topic. And here's why I consider it important, because marketing is actually the lifeblood of any organization. Interestingly, someone was asking me recently that, she saw a HR firm who wanted to do some marketing. I was like, why does a HR firm need to do marketing? And it's probably the misconception that people have that only some certain brands or certain products should do marketing. But really, marketing is important for absolutely any brand who has something for sale or who has a message to put out there, really. So today we're going to be talking about marketing in 2021, driving growth with strategy, technology, and tactics. I don't know if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen? If you can see my screen, can you please indicate? Yeah, Boyega can see my screen. Yes, okay. 1 minute while I make it. Okay, so thank you, everyone. So basically, when we talk about marketing, we all know that it's 2021, but a lot of organizations still do marketing as if they are marketing in 1970. We know our calendar says it's 2021. We realize that, but we haven't upgraded to, upgraded our marketing to 2021. You still find that when people reach out to you to say, oh, we're not getting results out of marketing, which is a very common excuse or experience that I hear from business owners and marketing communication specialists. Like, we're not getting results out of marketing. And by the time you probe deeper and actually get to find out what they're doing, they're actually aiming in parts and not aiming in full. And I always like to say that marketing is not a sprint. I mean, if you come to us and tell us, I want to be on first page of Google in 1 week, that's literally impossible. Or some people come to you and say, I want 10,000 likes, on my Facebook page and all of that. Marketing is not a sprint, it is a marathon. And of course, like all races that have, great value, it requires strategy, it requires technology, and it requires tactics. And some people actually start marketing without going through the process of developing a strategy, developing your, tactics, and then foiling it with technology. So of course, I've been introduced, so I'm not going to dwell, deep into this, but in a nutshell, I'd like to say that I help brands define themselves, create awareness, engage with prospects, generate leads using strategy, analytics, and technology. So let's look at today's situations. What's the current situations? Customers are ever evolving. They are the ones dictating the pace. In the time past, all a brand needed to do was do a TV commercial, put it on TV, and talk to the customers. There was no opportunity for the customers to talk back at you. And basically, they believed everything that you told them because there was no opportunity for them to, find any other narrative. But today, it's a conversation. It's no longer a one-sided discussion. So customers can actually also talk back at you, and there needs to be some connection and engagement. Also, customers now dictate the pace. It is not the time when you tell them, oh, my brand is blue, it's black, and then they accept it like that. But now they are getting to find it, find out by themselves. Before an average customer reaches out to you to buy anything, he or she must have gone through Google, must have maybe searched on social media, and then gotten recommendations from people, or read your reviews and all of that. You'll agree with me that if you are here and you've probably ever bought a new phone in the recent times, before you even stepped out of your house to go to the market to actually purchase, or the shops, you have searched on Google the actual name of the brand that you're going to purchase. You've read reviews of people who use it, their experiences, and what they've gotten out of it, whatever challenges it is that they have. 9 out of 10 times before you actually even get to the place where you're going to buy it, and that's if you step out of your house, because sometimes you can actually order it. But 9 out of 10 times before you step out of your house to take that buying decision, you already know what you're going to buy. In those days, when you go to supermarkets and all that, they put what we call buntings. They hang them up so that, it helps you take a decision. Oh, there's Pepsodent here. Oh, there's Maclean's here. But before people step out of their homes these days, they already know what to buy. So if you wait that long until they get to the shop or until they get to the store before you put out, a message to reach them, you've already lost them. And that's the current situation where we are today. But again, on the other side, on the flip side, business owners and marketers are in a race against time, trying to grab whatever customer that they can grab, right? The options are a dime and a dozen. It wasn't like those days when you probably had only 2 or 3 brands competing. Now you have, if you go to a supermarket store, for a particular product that does a particular kind of thing, you probably see maybe 50 different variants of that product. So how do people decide which of those 50, is going to help them do that product? So MDs and marketing managers are complaining, I'm spending money on marketing, I'm investing money on marketing, but it's not yielding results. This is 2021. I want results in 2021. And the complaints are out there. 9 out of 10 times when we meet people, a prospect who come to us, like, I want to do marketing. 9 out of those 10 times, their complaint is that, well, I've been doing something and it's not yielding anything, I want results. Can you guarantee that you can get results? And here's the truth. Most of them, by the time we probe, by the time we have a discussion and all of that, we find out that most of them do not even have a buyer persona. They do not know who their targets are. Sometimes the MD probably knows he has it in his head, but it's not written down anywhere. And the people who are working with him, his sales team, his marketing team, they have absolutely no idea. Sometimes they're selling to a different target audience than the one that the MD has in his head. It's not written down anywhere. Most of the time, they have no knowledge of who their customers are. They don't know what platforms they visit. I always have a lot of people who come to us, I want to do marketing, and we say, okay, we start asking questions. Say, no need to, we just want to do social media. And when you find out who are your target audience, what do they do? What platforms do they visit? You will find out most of the time that sometimes their target audience aren't even on the social media platforms where they are. But because they say everybody is on Facebook, everybody is on Twitter, so I just want my brand to be on Twitter. Recently, I had an MD tell me that he wanted his brand to be on TikTok. And when we interviewed and interrogated the brand, we saw that the brand was for, homeowners, older people who are probably like 45 and above, who are very serious people who can afford real estate and all of that. And certainly those people are not on TikTok. Even if they are, it's probably about 1 to 2%. And it's so minimal that you don't want to put your marketing budget, on a platform that doesn't give you the mega results, right? They have no clear cut objective of what they want to achieve. Sometimes they just says, I want likes, I want follows. I don't have likes on my Twitter pages. I don't have follows on my Twitter pages. I actually consider those metrics as vanity metrics, because half the time, the people who will like you, who may follow you, may not even be the people who will buy. And we've had several case studies and several examples of brands, ideal customers, or you have 100 people following you who absolutely have no reason, being your target audience. We also find out that clearly most of them do not have any analytics to, to check out what's happening. When they say we're getting results, there is even checking. Most time we find out the number of followers, right? The customers that come to them, they don't know how they come. So even if it's possible that it's not yielding results because they don't even know in the first place what results they were looking out for. And most of these clients, again, what we found out is that they've just been implementing tactical marketing programs. There's no overall strategy. There's no overall plan of what they're hoping to achieve. They just say, oh, maybe Valentine is coming. Let's do something for Valentine. And they put ads out there, put a lot of information out there. And at the end of it, like, only 2 likes, only 3 likes. But again, the most important things that they are supposed to have done to drive growth, they haven't done. They haven't followed the ecosystem. They haven't drawn a strategy. They haven't implemented the right technology, and they haven't implemented the right tactics. And that's the reason why a lot of brands don't get value out of today's marketing. They have simply been aiming in hope. Like, oh, let's do this and let's hope it's going to work. But of course, hope is not built on strategy. So you don't expect that you build something based on hope and then you expect that, it's going to work. So to actually get results out of your marketing efforts, it has to be embedded in strategy. It has to be fueled by technology and tactics. And I'll say that again. To get results out of your marketing efforts, it has to be embedded in strategy and fueled by technology and tactics. And like I mentioned before at the beginning, any race worth doing requires strategy, requires technology, and requires tactics, especially at a time like this in 2021, when the customers dictate the pace, when there are different options available to them, when you have to actually sell yourself to them and you have to tell them the reason why they should pick you above all other brands who are there in the market. And so let's look at how to drive growth in 2021 with technology, with strategy, and with tactics. Strategy is actually not very sexy in the word, and it is not something that a lot of people like to do. They just want to see the creatives. They just want to see materials out there. But the truth is, the way your flesh sort of beautifies your body, your flesh represents the creatives, right? The fine one that everybody wants to see. But the strategy is the skeleton that holds your body together and is the skeleton that holds the marketing together. So all of this beautiful flesh will be unable to stand if there was no skeleton actually putting it in shape and holding it together. That is the part that strategy plays in marketing. And half the time, we see that marketing managers and business owners jump the strategy hurdle and move straight into tactics and the beautiful creatives without any backbone holding things together. Now, when you look at strategy, the first place to start in developing a strategy is to even, know who your target audience, who they are, your customers, your prospects, who are you looking to get? Who are these people? Nobody actually goes into a battle without strategy, but we find that a lot of marketing people go into marketing without the strategy. And don't get me wrong, you don't have to do a 49, 50-page strategy document to actually understand that, you now have strategy. No, and I'll simplify it as much as possible so that you actually get the meat of it. Now, why will anybody bother with strategy? I mean, why should you have one? One is that it helps you make informed decisions. It is only when you have a strategy that draws out because we'll look at the various elements, that's when you know what you are actually supposed to do. It helps you measure your marketing efforts. If your strategy, for example, says that, if your strategy says, for example, that these are my goals and these are the metrics I'm going to measure, you will know when you have achieved that matrix. It helps you focus on what's important and relevant. There are, platforms are a dime and a dozen, but you cannot certainly be in all of them as a brand. You have to define what's important for you as a brand and then implement, exactly what's relevant to you. So for example, I mentioned TikTok earlier. Not that there's anything wrong with TikTok, but if you have a brand for people who are between 17 and 25, it's a fantastic platform to be on. But if you are marketing to people who are probably 50 and above, you will be wasting a lot of resources to be on TikTok, except of course you have a large marketing team, maybe 20 to 50 people who are just focusing on marketing alone. But if you know that resources are at finite, you have to focus on the parts that are important to you, the part that is important to you. Now, it also helps you to develop a marketing budget. You don't have all the money in the world. So you probably have, year 2021, we have 2 million dedicated to marketing. If you know the important areas, you will know the important places where you should put your budget in, and you'll be able to make informed decisions, as you go. So in defining strategy, let's look at, we're trying to make it as simple as possible. We'll take questions afterwards, but I'm just trying to point out the salient questions that we need to ask ourselves to get this sorted, so that you can actually even have like a 1 or 2 page strategy document, but at least it's a working document that directs you, to where you are going and helps you to achieve growth. The first thing is, who is my ideal customer? Who is my ideal customer? There are 2 things here. Not who is currently buying my products, who is my ideal customer? Because it is possible that there are people who are currently buying your products who are not your ideal customers. I'll give you an example. There was a time where, and I'm sure it's still there, it's probably just been swept under the carpet. There was a time where we found that a lot of younger people who just wanted to be high on drugs were taking cough syrup just so that they can be high on drugs. And I know that at that point in time, the cough syrups were selling off in the market. And when you go to buy some cough syrup for somebody who genuinely has a cough ailment and wants drugs, you will not be able to find one on the market. So you see that there are differences between who is currently really buying your product and who is your ideal customer. So even though those people who wanted to be high were buying those products, they weren't the ideal customers. And if you are going to focus marketing, you're not going to focus your marketing, on those people. So it's important to ask yourself, who is my ideal customer? Who needs my product or my service this year, right? So this is 2021. Buying patterns have changed. The people who probably used to buy it last year are not the people who are buying it now. So you need to ask yourself, buying patterns, who is my ideal customer? Who needs this product this year? So like, say 1 year ago, a lot of people didn't need to use Zoom. So there were less people who needed it. But now, if Zoom is still selling to the people they were selling to last year, they will be making a big mistake, because now more people need the Zoom services, right? I mean, a lot of people are still working from home. A lot of conferences are being held online. So then they probably wouldn't be marketing to people who are, running conferences. Hey, they don't need it, because those conferences are going to be physical. But right now, they should have expanded their audience to include those who have events and conferences to run. So which means that their buying patterns has also, the buying pattern of the people has influenced who the ideal customer is for 2021, and of course for the later part of 2020. So it's important to always interrogate your brand to say, who is your ideal customer? And to know who your ideal customer is, you need to have something called a buyer persona. You need to have a buyer persona, because your buyer persona is a fictional, representation of who your ideal client is. It tells you who this person is, where this person visits in terms of platforms, how does this person use media? It tells you what this person's pain point is, and then the message that this person is looking to hear to actually change, solve their pain point. So you're asking yourself, what's keeping this person awake at night? If, for example, you draw your ideal buyer persona and you discover that your buyer persona is somebody who watches a lot of football or somebody who likes a lot of football, you may want to put your display ads on, sites like goal.com, because that's where the person will be looking for football information and, and other sites relating to that. So if you do not know this person well enough, you probably be wasting time putting your ads on maybe a Punch NG website when your target audience are actually not there. See how we've been able to tie your buyer persona to even the tactics and the platforms that you use. Next, you need to define your goals and your objectives. So I often find, interestingly, that some marketing goals and objectives are working in silos from the business objectives. You cannot have your marketing objectives running in silos with your business objectives. Your marketing objectives and your business objectives has to align. And it is one of the reasons why a lot of businesses say, I don't see the reason why I should invest in marketing. I don't see results in my marketing. I don't see what marketing is helping this business to achieve, because marketing is going to Kaduna while the business objective is probably going to maybe Port Harcourt. They are two different directions, even when they're supposed to actually be going in the same direction, and one is supposed to help you achieve the others. So it's important that in drawing out your marketing objectives, you must look at the business objectives. If your business objectives, for example, says we want to grow in revenue by X amount of money, you know that you have to increase the number of leads you are going to get. And if your business objective says, for example, we want to be a thought leader this year, right? Even though leads are important, you also you have to focus on cheap lighting. So because the lighting, you need to focus on alone, online public relations, and all of that, even as you are focusing on leads. So that at the end of the day, when the business is measuring the achievement marketing has, there will be a correlation, in both areas. The third question you need to ask yourself is, what strategy are you going to use, right? So if somebody who's running a marathon, says, okay, I'm going to put together a strategy for this marathon. How do we crack this? How do we do it? Oh, okay, we have two super fast runners. So do we put our super fast runners in front, put one in front and put one at the starting line, and put the not so fast runners in the middle? That's a strategy. Or do we put our two best in front and hope that, they will cover the pace in time for, the other not so fast runners to be able to make it? That's a strategy, right? So, and the same thing you do with marketing. How do we strategize? What do we use? Are we going to use outbound only? Are we going to use inbound only? Are we going to use inbound and outbound? Right? How are we going to position ourselves? That's a strategy. And if your strategy, for example, focusing on inbound only, then you have to say, these are the tactics that I want to use in achieving this inbound. And if your tactics are focusing on outbound only, then you have to say, what are those tactics that will help me achieve this outbound? And if it's both of them that you're going to use, how are you going to mix both of them to be able to achieve the objective? Don't forget that the overall objective is to actually help your business or the organization achieve its objective. You are not working in silos. The next question you need to ask yourself is, what message are we going to put out there? There are several occasions where you're talking to this salesperson and he says, we are a this kind of company. And then you talk to another salesperson and the person has a totally different view of what the first salesperson, has. So there are mixed messages. The company doesn't have one particular message that says, this is who we are, right? And this is what we do, and this is what we stand for. So you have to have a unified message. What are we unanimously going to say we do? What message are we going to put out there this year, right? So how are we going to couch this message? And is this message relevant to our target audience, right? So if you say, I'm going to put out a certain message, it has to be a message that is relevant to the target audience. If your message is fantastic, well couched, and not relevant to the target audience that you are focusing on, then there's a mix. So you have to understand the message that you're going to put out there. The next thing is, who is going to implement marketing for us? It's fantastic to say I want to write 12 blog posts every day or 12 blog posts per month, and you don't have a writer on your team. It's certainly not going to happen if you don't plan, and put resources out there to implement this thing. If you say we're going to send 20 email marketing, or we want to generate 5 leads, but you don't even have the people who can actually do those, who can implement the marketing, no matter how beautiful your marketing plan is, if it doesn't get implemented properly, it's only going to be a beautiful PowerPoint and it's not going to generate any results. And the essence of actually drawing up, the beautiful marketing strategy is not to have a beautiful PowerPoint, is to actually yield results. So you have to ask yourself, who is going to implement this beautiful strategy we have? Do we have to have our resources in-house? Are we going to work with freelancers? Are we going to work with marketing agencies? How are we going to implement this? If, for example, you take a decision, you're going to have your resources in-house, which therefore means that you have to hire probably a writer, you have to hire maybe a graphic artist, you have to have a team who has the knowledge to actually implement it. I often found that a lot of social media handles are managed by interns. An NYC person or somebody who's on 6 weeks internship comes to your company and you dash over your social media pages and you hand it over to them. It is not supposed to be like that. It is not a job you give to people who don't have anything to do. It is an important part of your marketing strategy, and you have to put in effort to get it to work. And if you keep doing that, and that's why sometimes you go on social media and you see what's coming out from an organization's platform, and you're like, is this supposed to be? I mean, what's happening? Is it that nobody approved this or what? Also, because of those kind of things where you actually, just get anybody to do anything, you find out that they actually deliver below par, right? So you see sometimes that some social media, some organizations don't have a content calendar. The person who manages social media goes on social media that morning and types whatever he or she feels like for that day. So on the day the person has a good mood, maybe a fantastic content comes out, but on the day the person has a terrible or a foul mood, well, brace yourself. But again, the mood of the person who handles your social media platform is not supposed to determine what your organization puts out there. It's not supposed to be the founding or the drive behind what your organization puts out there. What your organization puts out there is always supposed to follow your brand's tone of voice, your brand's personality, and your brand's overall marketing message and marketing objectives. The sixth is, what are we going to measure? What are we going to measure? A lot of people measure a lot of follows, they measure likes, they measure comments and all of that. Sometimes not everything that can be counted needs to be counted, and not everything that counts can necessarily be counted, especially for some kind of industries. Sometimes when we work with, because we work with a lot of professional services firms, and we find that, you put out things on their social media, it may not get a lot of likes, but sometimes when some prospects finally become clients, they tell you that I've been following this page for 2 years. I like the content you share, but he never likes, right? He never clicks, he never put a comment on it, but he has been monitoring, he has, and there's something that has caught the fancy of this person, and this person lets this on. And you will find that for brands whose target audience are way older people, right? Maybe people from 35 and above, they may not get a lot of likes and a lot of that, but it doesn't mean that their social media pages are not working for them. Those set of people, those category of people are not people who are very social media savvy, who do a lot of likes, who follows and want to make a comment for a giveaway. But you see that if you are a brand who has a younger target audience, you are most likely to get a lot of engagement, and even giveaways are likely going to work, and all of that. But if you are a brand that has, say, older people in your target audience, they are not going to want to be part of giveaways. I can't imagine that a 50-year-old man wants to participate in a giveaway that a brand is doing, right? But even though he or she is the target audience for that brand, he or she is not likely to participate. But a 20-year-old is likely to participate in that giveaway, not necessarily because he or she is a target audience, but because they simply want to get the giveaway. So for them, it's the motivation. What am I going to get out of this? So you need to understand that when you are measuring things, not everything that can be counted should be counted, and not everything that can be counted counts, really. The sixth question you need to ask yourself is, what is our timeline? How much time do we have to implement this marketing? You don't have all day, you don't have all year. You have to ask yourself, how much time do I have? Now, even though you're going to be, implementing marketing for the entire 2021, you're going to have to break them in phases, break them in parts so that it can make sense. Because you cannot run the same campaign, or you cannot run the same thing from the 1st of January to December 21st. There are seasons in the year. So you're going to have to ask yourself, what seasons do I want to focus on, and what seasons do I want to be a bit quiet? Again, because you don't have all the money to make a lot of noise all through the year, right? So you're going to have to ask yourself, what am I going to do between maybe first quarter, right? What 2 or 3 things am I going to do? What 2 or 3 things am I going to do at the end, at the end of the year? Do I want to put a lot of things towards the end of the year because that's when is my season as a business? So you have to also interrogate your own season as a business. What time works better for you? What time, is the fantastic time when your clients need your service, right? So you have to know that. Let me take, for example, a school, right? This is second term. A lot of people are not enrolling in new schools. So you probably, want to keep your campaigns till maybe towards third term when people are doing enrollment and they're looking for shopping for new schools for their kids. So each business has a season, and of course there are definitely exceptions to this. There are businesses whose season run all through the year. So you have to understand your business and understand that. The next question you have to ask yourself is, how much is this going to cost us? It's not, and often we find when we tell clients, what's your marketing budget? They say, I don't have. You should recommend. It doesn't work like that. You have to understand how much your business can afford to put, out for marketing. If you ask the agency you're working with or the person you're working with to recommend, the person is not going to recommend from the place of convenience for you. The person is going to recommend what is ideal. Now, except you have all of the money in the world that you say, okay, whatever it is you bring, we'll go ahead and do. We need to understand how much exactly you have for marketing, and based on the business objectives and marketing objectives, know how to spread this so that it actually yields, the maximum that your budget can go, right? So you see that businesses in the e-commerce sector, they can spend as much as $10,000 a month on Google Ads. But of course, I wouldn't advise a business who probably, maybe a school, for example, or like a consulting firm to spend that much amount on Google Ads. It's absolutely not important for them. So that's why you have to, at the beginning say, this is what we are putting forward, for marketing for this year, so that you then work with what you have to get the best of what you can afford. And that's that on strategy. We've been talking about strategy, and I've tried as much as possible to break it down, implement it to just, to be questions that you need to ask yourself so that you can get out, the strategy. So you don't have to do like a lengthy 4, 5, or 50-page document and all of that. Once you're able to answer these questions, right, put them down, not answer them in your brain. These things have to be written down and they have to be, agreed by the team. Now, also, I find that marketing and sales teams, they work in silos. You cannot, you cannot actually draw this up without speaking to your sales team. If you're a marketing person or if you're the MD of an organization, you have to work with your sales team in answering some of these questions. They're the ones who deal with prospects. They're the ones who deal with clients sometimes, and they need to give you insight from the field. And in some cases, you need to work with people who are actually like your client service people who work with clients on a day-to-day basis. They need to tell you what the client's problems are, the pain points and all of that. And of course, you need to do a research. If you're just gonna sit down and put this together, from your own head knowledge, it's not going to serve you any usefulness, because sometimes you are so embedded in a business that you do not even know what other people think of the business. You're actually just thinking of yourself and thinking of what you think that people know or what people want, but that's not actually what people want. So you need to sit down with your business development people, and in some organizations they call them salespeople, and you need to sit down with the people who actually deliver the service, maybe the client service people, the client-facing people, and then of course you need to get the buy-in of management so that you can then know that this is a strategy that we're working with this time. Now let's move on to technology. We've discussed all there is about strategy. Let's move on to technology. Technology has completely changed the way that marketing is done. In fact, I always say that if you are doing marketing at this point in time and you don't have any technology in it, you're wasting your time, because it's either you are not implementing it as much as you can, or you are not getting enough value as much as you can, or you are not actually even getting the right results in terms of what people are doing or what it is giving you, because you haven't implemented technology. So technology actually plays a great role, and it helps you, to do a lot of things. One of them is that it helps you to unearth your customer preferences. Like, what do my customers even want? Well, how do you know what your customer wants when there's no analytics on your website? Do you know what page your people who visit your website now, do you know what page they visit? Do you know what website they come from?